Welcome back to another awesome edition of Crowding the Plate. I have our first official swag shirt on from Design Tree. Make sure you head over to thebrandedsports.com. Get you one of our CTP shirts. As always, we're brought to you by Branded Sports. But, Dubs, we are also sponsored today by one of the newest, most innovative and fun tailgate games out there. CEO Joe, Jay Roger, myself, and a couple of the other guys were out there last week getting to play. It's a QB54. It's a complete game of football that's actually built in to 2 folding chairs. So you can play the game. It's got touchdowns, interceptions. You can play one-on-one. You can play teams. And then when you're done, you can sit in the damn chairs and just relax. So it's perfect for tailgating. It's even better for the beach. Make sure you go check that out. If you're sick of Frisbees, you're sick of just throwing a regular football around, now you have a full-on game, and it is a blast. So the QB54, make sure you check that out as well. Dubs, I got a cold. I know you got a cold too, but how you feeling up there in Beantown?
I'm feeling great. Luckily, playoff season is playoff season. You really just it gets you through kind of everything. Whether they're losing or they're winning, it gets you through it. So Bruins win last night kind of took away from the fact that the Red Sox gave up another awful loss by the bullpen.
That was bad.
So I guess as the Spanish would say, así. So.
All right. Your Red Sox are struggling. My Yankees are injured, but somehow winning some games. We will, as always, talk some Sox Yanks at the end. But where do you want to talk today? We always talk about how many young studs are in this game right now, and we are getting another one.
Yeah, I think all season, previews for the season, everything we've always talked about. The AL probably has the strongest top teams, which hasn't been true so far.
Nope.
But regardless, we talked about that, but we also talked about the fact that the NL has the strongest young guys, and they keep piling on right now. The Reds, of all people. Who cares normally? But
no one.
But we do care today because the number 5 prospect in all of baseball, Cincinnati's top prospect in their farm system, Nick Senzel, center fielder, is getting called up. Just to rattle off real quick his minor league career stats. That's since 2016. He's batted .312, 388 on base, 508 slugging, 28 home runs, 132 RBIs over what equates to about like a season and a half worth of games in the minors or in the majors. So that's his minor league career. I mean, he seems like a stud. Seems like one of those guys that kind of just does everything.
Yep.
Like he maybe doesn't excel at one thing in particular, but he can hit home runs, knocks in a lot of runs, great top of the order guy, great average guy, slugs a little bit. So
bring him up.
Yep. I mean, it's just really what it is just another guy into this equation of stud NL young players. I mean, we're going to get quite the rookie of the year race this year, to be honest.
Who do you think's leading that right now for you?
Yeah, I mean, leading it right now, it's probably,
it's tough.
I mean, it's got to be Pete Alonso, I guess, especially with rookie of the year where it doesn't factor into the fact that the Mets suck. Like that matters with the MVP and everything like that, which they don't suck yet, but they will suck. And, but I mean, he's been tearing it up. He's got 9 home runs, 100, like just over 1,000 OPS.
Yep.
He was the NL Rookie of the Month in April. I mean, he's been pretty unbelievable. But then you got guys like Tatis in there and Christian Walker for the D-backs.
Yep.
And then Victor Robles for the Nationals. You kind of forget about him because Soto's still on the I mean, Soto's still so young that you forget that Robles is there too, making his debut.
And the Nationals
I mean, he's
struggling.
been a bit of a demon though on the bags. He's got 7 stolen bases, so
just studs all
really
around.
Good. But I mean, there's a lot of guys in the equation here, and you're adding another very capable person to jump into that race, and Nick Senzel.
I think on top of him, being ready, I think the Reds, they're never in the news except for when Puig starts a fight. So they're like, you know what? I think it's been a while. No one's talking about us because we're the Reds. So why not? And this just puts a team that no one cares about, gives us a reason to care for a couple days.
Yeah. Well, the Reds have been really weird this season
They
because they
have
are in the
been.
bottom of that division, and they really aren't that great when you look at their lineup. I mean, their lineup isn't good. Puig's batting under 200. They're struggling big time, and then they're pitching outside of their top starter. Sorry, this is a sick game. We gotta.
Yeah.
I can't remember their top starter,
Well,
which is
because
bad.
It's the Reds. We don't care.
Yeah, and but he's been really good. But the rest of their starting lineup sucks. So, but overall, I mean, I think they're plus 10 in run differential, and they're in the basement of the division. So, it's been a really, really weird year. Kind of sounds like a Seattle year. That's something Seattle does a lot.
Yes. I found out today too, reading this article about Senzel. Do you know the name? I think we've talked about this before. What is the name of the Reds ballpark?
I don't know.
It's the Great American Ballpark.
That's the name of it?
Yes.
Is that because they're like wicked old? Because that's the only thing they can hang their hat on. They're like,
I think so.
Yeah, we've been around forever, and we've never been very good. It's wild.
So we're just gonna. This is everybody loves a player. It's a great American place to play. No, it's not.
Oh, the Reds are so boring.
Yes.
Boring name, boring team.
Just
I've never been to Cincinnati. Sounds boring. Bengals are boring.
Bengals.
But Nick Senzel's real good, so let's keep an eye out for him. See what he's doing, and maybe we can get him onto a good team in the next few years.
Yes.
So with all these good players, Kevin,
yep.
in the NL, the Rookie of the Year race obviously going to be absurd. But two guys that really kind of, as they came up through the system, have been interesting to me is Senzel and Tatis in particular.
Yes.
So my question to you is, if you're starting right now, which one of those guys do you pick?
Well, right this minute, Senzel's getting called up and Tatis is on the IL, but taking that out of the equation, I'm going to go Tatis. There's something about this dude. I mean, getting a hit in his first at bat. I mean, he's got 100 ABs this season. He's batting 300. He's got 30 hits, 13 RBIs, 4 runs scored, 6 home runs. He's smooth in the field. He's a big, tall, strong-looking dude. I mean, he's outplaying Manny Machado really to start the season. So I don't know. He's just that dude, and I'd rather play in San Diego than Cincinnati too. So I'll give that a little ding too.
Absolutely,
yeah. I'm going to Tatis.
But so the only reason I'm gonna I look at it this way: Senzel, I think, is probably the safer pick.
Yes.
I think he probably does more things well on a baseball field.
Yep.
And he's an outfielder, which is flexible. Like, he's a center fielder now, which is even better.
Yeah.
You're kind of getting, the top tier type of defender. But you can move him anywhere. He's flexible like that. Tatis, I mean, he's been a good shortstop, but you never know with the young guys. And being a shortstop is just obviously a little harder, I think, than being an outfielder.
100%.
Being consistent and being able to play every single day. So for that reason, and just the fact that I think those little intangible things, Senzel probably does a little bit better. Probably a little more athletic. So I'd probably take him for right now.
Okay.
But I mean, these guys could very well be neck and neck.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of them
when you're looking at this Rookie of the Year race.
Yeah, I would agree. As long as Tatis gets off the IL or DL pretty soon.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to.
But moving over in the NL, we're going to move our way over to the Mets.
Do we have to?
Yeah, unfortunately. I know. But Syndergaard had a freakish
dude.
I mean, 7th guy to ever win a game where you hit the only run in a home run for your team and shut out the other team in a complete game. Syndergaard went the whole 9 innings.
Yeah.
No earned runs, 10 Ks, 1 walk, 4 hits, and had the home run in the bottom of the 3rd against the Reds. Speaking of them,
the Reds.
But I mean it's freak. He's a freak.
Love it, Thor. I mean,
yeah.
Again, he's one of the only guys on the Mets I would root for and do root for, and he's a stud. And DeGrom, he finally had his first good outing the other day. but he lost 1-0. You know why? Because he didn't hit a home run. You never, ever, ever, like you always say, depend on that lineup. You got to do it yourself. And DeGrom did. Syndergaard did.
I mean, ignorant of DeGrom. You've
Right?
been there far too long for Syndergaard to be the only guy to know that you're gonna have to score that run.
Yes.
Like there is, especially a guy like DeGrom who lost game after game, decision after decision last season
They give
in a
him no
historic season, and he had a losing record. It's like what
He could have won
you
35
gotta
games
know
last
better,
year.
DeGrom.
Yes.
I hate to put it all on you, but if you're gonna be a Mets pitcher, it's all on you. So.
And Syndergaard
Shame
legitimately put the whole team on his back and said,
Absolutely.
No, Diaz blew it the other night for DeGrom. You're not coming in. I got this whole game and line up. Just play some defense for me. I got this.
Yeah, should have
His
seen
hair's flowing.
That's on him. Syndergaard, great game. Don't really need to talk about the Mets all that much more.
Mets still suck. I'm just waiting for the collapse.
I mean, they definitely are jockeying a little bit with Philly still, and they do have a good lineup, but I think the way it's constructed, I just don't think there's a very strong foundation there with the Mets right now.
I'd agree.
So I see it going the way it always does with them and them collapsing, but
like this.
I mean, like it has been the last few years going into it. I mean, there is talent there. They've always had the pitching staff. So
since that World Series run, every year I feel like it's been the same thing.
There have definitely been times where they collapse, and when you do look at the lineup, the team doesn't look very good.
Yep.
But you've always had that pitching staff, and you can always win with that.
Rely on that. Yep.
They're probably going to keep jockeying with the Phillies as long as the Phillies keep not playing really all that well. I mean, they keep playing kind of 500 ball ever since that started the season.
Yeah, they keep staying level with like exactly where they were last year. Like last year, 24 games in, they were 13-11. This year, same thing. So I mean, they have a lot of injuries to like most teams do right now. But yeah, they're just. I mean, Bryce Harper's not doing anything. I mean, the team's just bleh.
Yeah, I mean they started the year with those 7 or 8 wins in a row, whatever it was.
Yep.
Billy got wicked happy. Everything was cool, I guess, and
they
were gonna win 162 in a row.
Yep.
And then they've kind of just played 500 ball since then. It's really been just that. And the nights they win, they look really good sometimes, and they'll blow a guy out by 10 nothing. But
and then they'll lose 9-0.
But they'll lose that series then.
Yes.
And it's like, so they definitely have a lot to fix, and they're showing that they're not a complete team yet. I mean, you got a lot of new guys, and they're kind of finding their role, and everyone's trying to fit into a place, and you're having a young manager try and manage all those personalities and trying to figure out where they all fit and help them the best he can in Gabe Kapler. So it's a tough situation over there, but this is the time that the Mets need to jump, and they're still not even on top of Phillies right now. So I just don't see how the Mets make the playoffs this year.
And speaking of the playoffs making things kind of all better, I mean, the 76ers win again last night, take a 2-1 lead on Toronto. Yes, this is a baseball show, but listen to me. I mean, the Sixers aren't the only quote-unquote game in town right now, the Phillies, I mean. So even with them playing 500 ball, it's kind of quiet. Everybody's rallying around the 76ers. Every single big star athletically in Philly was at that game last night. So they're probably rooting for the Sixers, not only just because they're in Philly to go all the way and try and win this, but also to try and take the light off of them playing 500 ball. Because as soon as the Sixers are done, it's all Phillies all the time, and the scrutiny is going to be that much higher.
Yeah, I mean, compared to, like, you look at Boston right now, we've got 2 teams in the playoffs going right now. A lot of the focus is there. But, I mean, the Red Sox have been so bad that they're still getting crushed. So
yeah, they are getting crushed. But they're going to be getting
pretty
crushed.
Unavoidable. And that's Boston. I mean, Boston's also a baseball city.
Yeah.
Like, you can look at it some ways, but Fenway's been there forever. It's rooted in there.
That's the Great American Ballpark.
Yeah. So, and it's a hockey town, and it's all that. You can make the claim of all of them. Celtics have the most titles of all time, obviously, and
blah 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 blah.
And you know, New England's a hockey town, so it's like, but Red Sox are always kind of king. Patriots have been king. So,
but you know what's going to happen. Everyone, I can see it. The Bruins are going to win it all. Celtics are going to win it all. You're going to get the sweep of all, and then all of a sudden, the Red Sox are just going to come on. get hot and start their party going. So
figure it out. We'll talk about it later, but some things they're starting to figure out. Some things they definitely still need to solve, but
yep.
We'll talk about them later.
But all right, so we talked about the Mets, we talked about the Phillies. What about another team in their division in the Nats and something that's special that happened there?
So Steven Strasburg makes history. He was the fastest player to record 1,500 strikeouts based on innings pitched, and I mean it's obviously an incredible accomplishment. But I really think I think looking back at Steven Strasburg's career right now is a good time to do it because he's kind of at that middle part of his career.
Yep.
Where he can kind of either become a Hall of Famer or he can fade into this kind of second half of his career where the Nationals are what they are. They lost Harper. They're going to have to rebuild. He's going through it. And I want to get your take on if you think, like, which direction is he going to go at this point? I mean, he's played a while now. He's got a lot of innings under his belt. They've tried to preserve his innings throughout the years, which, that's been a debate in its own right.
Let's not pitch him in the playoffs.
Remember that? Well, I mean, I was looking at it today. He's only had 3 playoff starts.
So
you preserve him his whole career in the regular season to play 3 career postseason starts.
And then you lose Harper.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, he was pretty damn good in the postseason.
He was, yeah.
In Strasburg's 3 starts.
I'll never understand. Again, whatever. We talked about DeGrom, but that making sure he was healthy, but that's a whole nother thing. If your guy's just gunning people down and you're in the playoffs, you gotta roll with them. Yeah,
and so my thing with Strasburg is I think he can still be great. Whenever you have the strikeout ability that he has, I mean, it's an unteachable weapon pretty much.
Yep.
And he doesn't walk anyone really, so he has that going for him. My thing with him is he's never seemed to put the whole thing together, and it's kind of showed. I mean, he's only a 3-time All-Star in his career, in his 10-year career. Or he's in his 10th year now. And he led the league in strikeouts once, for as good of a strikeout pitcher as he is.
2014.
Only led the league once in 2014, yep. So I think there's something to be said where he just...
Do you think it's a mental thing?
I don't know what it is. I think it might be one of those things where he just never really was able to reach his full potential. And I don't know that he has enough time or the team to kind of do it on right now to have this like resurgence as a 31-year-old where he does put it all together.
Do you think maybe it's because of how he was babied earlier in his career?
I think part of it's that. I mean, I think that whole team, I think all those Washington teams pretty much underperformed if you look at their rosters.
Always.
They had unbelievable rosters, and the same way all Washington teams do is they underperform.
If you would tell me that they got no World Series wins out of any of those teams.
Strasburg in his career has 3 playoff starts. That's it.
It really is unbelievable. And for him, I mean, can you imagine being him and you're a number 2? You don't even have to worry about being the ace of a team. Where a lot of other teams, if he was on, he probably would be. But you're pitching behind Scherzer. It kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. You think that might help him put it together even more. Or maybe, who knows, maybe that pisses him off. Maybe he wants to be an ace. He is an ace, but maybe he wants to be a number 1.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, he had such high expectations coming into the league.
God,
anyone that remembers when he came into the league, especially around the same time as Bryce Harper, or a little bit before Bryce Harper, but it's happened in the same city where they had so much hype for a guy coming up. Strasburg was a first overall pick. I mean, he was the next big thing. And I mean, he's lived up to it to a degree. I mean, he's been an unbelievable strikeout pitcher.
Yep.
His fastball's been undeniable, and he's been a really solid pitcher for all these years. He's been fairly healthy, and some of that's probably due to the way they coddle him, and some of that's due to his durability, but he's never just blown you away with a season. He's never gone out there and he's never been a Cy Young guy, or his best finish was top 3 in 2017 as a Cy Young.
And I feel like fades into not mediocrity, but like people kind of forget about him. Like sometimes when I hear his name, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, he is still there.
And he very much falls victim to Washington being the team that they are. But
yes, yep.
I think he would really need a serious resurgence to ever consider Strasburg a Hall of Famer.
I would agree. I don't see it. I mean, only 3 playoff starts too. There's no way you can be a Hall of Famer with
at 30 years old though, this is kind of, and you look at a milestone like 1,500 strikeouts, you got to start looking at, in reality, is he going to have the chance to put on the performances and have those like top 3 finish Cy Young seasons now that he's at 30 years old and going forward?
Do you have his career record up?
Yeah, his career record, win-loss record?
Yeah.
97-53. Okay. So that's a 647 win percentage over his career, which is, I mean, he's, like I said, he's always been a very good pitcher. Like he's never not been like an ace, quote unquote.
Yep.
But with that said, it's never felt like he's totally lived up to that expectation that we had. Maybe it was just an impossible expectation, but
it could have been. I mean, he was at a Sports Illustrated cover. He was ESPN when they actually covered baseball. He was everywhere all the time.
And the other thing is, this milestone is nothing to like sniff. Like, you know, we're not trying to say it's not an incredible accomplishment, because he is. I mean, what he does best is strike people out, and he does that better than anyone, pretty much.
And then he's going to reach his 100th win right after it. He's 3 away.
He's been incredible at what he does best, but I mean, he's never, the ERA has never blown you away, really. It's not anything like that. His innings obviously haven't been incredible over his career. So, I mean, there just feels like there's something missing in his career. Maybe it is the postseason moments. Maybe it is because of his team, but it feels like there's something missing with him to saying he's like a Hall of Fame type of pitcher.
No, I would totally. Right now, he's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's a Hall of Fame talent. I just don't think he had a Hall of Fame career.
That is the perfect way to put it. Hall of Fame talent, but not a Hall of Fame career yet.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Now moving over. I mean, we've been staying in the NL the whole time here. This podcast
this is an NL
so far.
Show.
And we're gonna stay there again with the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, they've been unbelievable. They won 8 of their last 10. They're going into a big series in Wrigley right now. I think as we record right now, they're finishing up a game. I know they were down in the 6th inning, 3-0 to the Cubs. But I mean, this is a huge series with the Cubs. I think they're 3.5 back of them.
Yes.
And
they lost 4-0.
Yeah. Yep. So they're probably 3 games back or 2.5, whatever they are.
Yep.
But the Cubs have a chance to really kind of get themselves back in position of this division here with the home series against St. Louis. But St. Louis also has the opportunity to show if they're kind of for real and they can go into a big series like this and really dominate the way they need to. And today they didn't, but moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, we on the preview show, I mean, we said early before the season even started, we wouldn't be surprised either where this team finished. We had no issues with saying they have a chance to win this division or finish 3rd in the division. They were one of those teams with an older lineup, Goldschmidt coming. We didn't know how he was going to do. I mean, we knew he was going to perform, but, how quickly was he going to perform in a new, surrounding? So it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, it does surprise me if that makes any sense at all.
I think by no means this is like a make or break series, but I do think these two teams, I think it could be like a little bit of a prove it series, and teams are starting to find their identity, whether good or bad, as you go into May. So I think this series definitely matters, and it's a big one, and it's on the road for St. Louis. So I just think you got to go out and win this series, and I think losing this first game is a tough look. Obviously.
It's a very tough look. Yep.
And it kind of kills the momentum, and the Cubs have needed some momentum. They've been looking for some momentum.
So that would scare me as a St. Louis fan, losing 4-0 in the first game of the series, because then, who knows, the Cubs could catch fire and bang, you blink your eye and you got swept at Wrigley.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then all of a sudden, the Cubs are only a half game back or whatever it is, however it works out to.
Which I do not want.
Yeah, and Rizzo's getting hot, I think, and it's really just an interesting. I mean, the whole NL. We've been talking about it all show for a reason because they've really just been dominating.
Well, and like you and I said earlier in the year too, St. Louis, the Cubs. Like, how good is this for baseball when those teams are good and they're battling out in a series like this in May that means something? It's so meaningful for baseball in general.
And it's just a big time. I mean, you're getting two good markets too, where St. Louis is still in the Stanley Cup, but that said, I mean the Chicago's focus is totally turned to the Cubs right now.
Yes.
I mean, that city is consumed with the Cubs. So the Cardinals are going to go into an environment where the Cubs fans are, not that they ever aren't all the way in, but they're really all the way in right now because this is what they have. I mean, this is what they're looking at, and they know they have a good team here, and they know that, and Cubs fans are smart enough to know that this is a big series.
Yes.
And that probably played into them winning 4-0 today.
And with this team that they have, Cubs fans are expecting more than one World Series. So that's another reason why they are fully in.
And it's been a few years now since they've won that. They won, and they haven't really sniffed getting all the way back there since then yet.
No.
I've had good teams, but they haven't the same magic that you clearly felt that year.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, let's talk a little AL here with Mike Trout. We put out a stat earlier this week that was just unbelievable. And I believe you have it up. We tweeted it from CTP Pod on Twitter. And it kind of blew my mind when I saw this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give me 1 second. So let's pull back the curtain real quick. Basically, what's been going on today is I just don't feel well. So I've had noodle brain. When we were starting to get the show up today, I looked at you and I said I was about to do something. I totally forgot what it was.
That was it.
And I couldn't figure out. And I told you, I was like, I hope it's just not important because I am totally out of it. And then I couldn't miss it. And this was it. It was the stat. Yeah. And I was wrong. It was important. I mean, because these numbers that Trout is putting up this season have been unbelievable.
He just keeps getting better.
Yeah. So what Trout's done this season so far, and this is as of Wednesday, so he's probably been better in the last 2 days, I'm sure. But he's seen 445 pitches. He's swung at 151 of those. He's only missed 15.
How is that possible?
Only missed 15. And this is something actually that Mookie Betts did last season. So, I mean, that's, if any sign of how Mike Trout's just going to rebound after losing the AL MVP.
Yep.
139 of the 445 pitches he's seen have been off the plate. He's only swung at 4 of them. So, I mean, there's some guys that just have an eye and
control.
I mean, it's robotic. His eye, I would assume, is probably better than 99% of umpires ever. Not currently in baseball, just
ever. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, is he underrated? I mean, he just signed that massive 10-year deal. But
I mean, he's not. He's absolutely not underrated. Underrated's like a word that you use for.
I mean, I think
that
he's
aren't really. I mean, he keeps winning MVPs. He's always top 3.
I think he's even better than we give him credit for.
Nah.
He's so good.
Nah. He is unbelievable, and he really is that good.
I've ever seen with my own eyes.
But to be perfectly honest, these are the numbers that Mookie Betts was doing in the first couple months last season, and it was these stats that they were comparing it to. So all I'm saying is it's not unheard of.
No.
That's more what I'm saying. But I think Mike Trout, when you look at his deal and you look at the way, I mean, maybe 5 years ago Mike Trout was underrated because we were starting to get used to him winning MVPs.
Yeah.
Mike Trout's not underrated. He is unbelievable, and he is incredible, but he's not underrated.
But I think he's even better than anyone gives him credit for.
I think he's got $400 and something million to tell you he's not overrated.
Well, he should have $500 and some million. He should have anything he wants because he's the face of this
demon.
league.
And those stats in baseball's fun too because they have so many stats. So sometimes those fun ones are the ones that make you think, holy shit, he's really that good.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring up the Mookie ones because I remember them vividly from last season because I was like, oh shit, that's really good.
Unbelievable.
And it's the same thing when especially with these really unbelievable contact hitters and that have power like Trout and Mookie.
Yep.
You look at him and you think about, oh wow, well this guy's slugging and he's hitting, and you look at those basic, slash scores. You're like, yeah, he's really playing well. And then you look at these type of numbers and you're like, oh no, he's playing near perfect
like
baseball.
Superman.
Like, you basically can't get more perfect than he's playing.
No. That's all. That's all. I just wanted to get that stat out there and say I believe that he is underrated because I think he's that freaking good.
Yeah, and you know what else? The Angels have been the Angels. They're kind of middle of the road again.
Yeah.
But
lost 3 out of 4 to the Yankees.
He may be getting Ohtani back soon, though. We haven't talked about him much because he's kind of been shelved a little bit.
I don't need to talk about him.
Ohtani's close to his return, and him coming into DH and maybe adding a little bit to that lineup. I'm not going to say anything is guaranteed for the Angels because baseball, as good as Mike Trout can ever be, he can't just carry them as a bat. So there's a lot that they need to fix, but getting Ohtani back will be very interesting to see what those two can make of this lineup and see if they can steal them some games.
Yeah, I think he can absolutely help, but you know how I feel about Shohei Ohtani, my non-AL Rookie of the Year from last year.
I like Ohtani.
I like Ohtani, and I would like him even more if he didn't screw Miguel Andujar from last year.
Well, he didn't screw anyone. Miguel Andujar screwed Miguel Andujar.
Miguel Andujar had a fucking phenomenal year last year.
Yeah, but what was his ERA?
His ERA? He didn't pitch.
Oh, well, Ohtani did.
Oh. Here we go. Yeah, set me up there. That was a softball. I was like, "What? Where are you going here with this?" What about the other MVP from last year?
Yeah, so we're gonna rattle off a little just kind of injury news as we got that Ohtani news.
But everyone in the major leagues is on the IL. There we go.
Yeah, he's a Yankee fan. There are a lot of injuries, but he's got them all. But regardless, yes, NL MVP from last year, Christian Yelich. He's kind of been day to day all week. He had a back strain. They keep saying it's nothing serious. Sounds like he might be back this weekend.
Uh-huh.
But regardless, you don't want to mess around with backs, and Yelich is obviously. You need Yelich. He's the MVP. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be the MVP possibly again this year. He's gonna be at least in the race. So
I need Yelich. I should have had Yelich.
And everyone does.
Carlo.
He's. You want to promote the league. Unfortunately, you got to get some of those white guys in there. Mike Trout ain't going to be the white guy they're able to promote for whatever reason. And Yelich could be.
He's a weatherman.
So, Yelich is a perfect guy to keep those old baseball writers happy.
Yes.
And then
crotchety baseball writers that you love.
Yep. And then moving over to Cleveland, Kluber's on the DL.
That was hard to watch.
After a comebacker. It definitely looked pretty painful.
Yeah, he knew it right away.
Like, obviously, it's if you see a comebacker, it's terrifying, and it's always better to have something like this happen than like a hit to the head. But
yeah,
that comebacker off an arm shattered his arm. It is what it is, and they don't have a timetable at all for him to return. But that leaves the question.
Yeah,
it's impossible not to bring up Keuchel when big starters go down. Is this the time?
They have Bauer, Carrasco. Yeah. There is. So let's go two different ways here. So, do you think there's any chance now that they trade Bauer? There's still been trade talks that teams are still interested in Bauer, but they want to haul. But if you trade him now, you're basically giving up on the season, correct?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think they're in a position where they should do that because
I don't think so either.
You only have so many more years with what you have here. I think your team is predicated on pitching, though.
Yes.
Like, they've gotten some good studs now and have come up with a pretty complete team, but the Indians need their pitching staff. So having Kluber down for an extended period of time with no timetable, I think that calls for at least bringing in Keuchel and seeing what he has in that arm. You're starting the season right now. The Twins have been wicked hot.
Yes.
And the Indians are behind them 3 games right now, and you're losing one of your top pitchers. So I think they need to look into getting another arm in there.
Yeah, and I think Keuchel makes the most sense. A lot of teams, it's sounding like, are want to wait until after the draft so they don't have to give up a draft pick. That's what the Yankees have apparently said. But a team like Cleveland, they may not have time for that.
Yeah, I just don't see the point in a Bauer trade. I think this team. I think there is good players on Cleveland, and I think they will be able to do a rebuild in a pretty efficient way.
Yeah.
But I think they will need to rebuild in the next 3 years here, or 4 years, whatever it may be. I think this team has a limited window on what they can do, especially the way they're built.
Yes.
So, and I think you need to
Santana's not going to be
capitalize on it.
himself anymore.
Yeah, I think you need to capitalize it, and I think you need to go get a guy like Keuchel so you can save this season.
Yep.
And make sure you're taking advantage of every season left of this kind of run that the Indians have been able to put together.
And who knows? You keep Bauer, you have Carrasco, you get a guy like Keuchel. They keep the season alive, and towards the end of the season, if you get Kluber back towards the playoffs, I mean that could be huge for them. And bang, you're right in the position you need to be.
Yeah, and you may even get Kluber back sooner than that. There's just no timetable
like
on it now.
Weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it probably won't be before the All-Star break, but But I mean, you will get him back, and he will have time to kind of get back into his role. But then all you do is just have an extra better arm if Keuchel works out. So I think it's worth taking the shot.
All right, Dubs, you ready to move on to two other teams that have been linked to Keuchel all season? Our teams, the Red Sox and the Yankees, which people still think that he can help, and I agree. So you want me to go first? We'll talk a little Yanks.
Yeah, because I got to take a deep breath before I go into this Red Sox stuff because they've been.
I can't wait for it.
It's been a roller coaster.
All right, CC. We talked about him last episode that he was on the verge of 3,000 strikeouts. Well, he got it. He had his 3,000th strikeout. It did not come in a win, unfortunately. He was talking that he was so pumped. It was in an NL park. He wanted to get his 3,000th and hit a dinger. I was praying for it. I was hoping for it. I didn't get it, but I did get the 3,000th. So question for you. Is CC Sabathia a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I think he is. I think at some point you've played in the league for so long that you start hitting milestones that it becomes pretty hard to talk about a generation of talent without throwing your name into it.
Yep.
And I think if that's the case, I think the fact that he did get one Cy Young is huge. I think having that on your resume is massive as a pitcher. We talked about it with Strasburg.
He's the ace of a World Series team.
Yep. So he's kind of hits all the check marks, and he's played for so long now that he is hitting those milestones as well with numbers.
Yep.
So I don't think he was ever the best pitcher at any point in time in the league.
Maybe when he was on the Brewers, when he went like 11-3 and brought them to the postseason. Remember that little stint? He was unbelievable then.
Yeah, but it just wasn't enough of a sample size. His Cy Young year obviously was unbelievable. He was 19-7 with Cleveland.
Yep.
3.2, but it was he only had a 3.21 ERA. Yep. His big things was he had 34 starts and 241 innings and led the league for that, and he had over 200 strikeouts that year. So he collected the Cy Young, but he never was blowing anyone away. But he was. It's pretty hard at this point with the longevity to say that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, and on top of just, what he's done on the field, they say he is the most unbelievable clubhouse guy. He's such a leader for that Yankees team.
Yeah, dude.
Teammates love him.
Starts all the parties.
Love him. Yeah, exactly. Well, not anymore. Baseball writers love him. Everybody loves him. So I think that adds, that helps. And another notch that, it's not a stat or anything, but the way he has learned and changed the way he's pitched over his career. Like he used to just blow the ball by people and he couldn't do it anymore. So he's learned to really pitch and he's learned to be able to, get wins, not having his stuff that he used to have anymore. And not a lot of pitchers, especially guys that throw gas, are able to make that transition. So just being able to make that transition and stay relative in the bigs for this long, I feel like adds to his, argument.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it before too, where if a pitcher wants to keep playing after the age of 31, 32, they generally have to do that if their style had anything to do with a fastball over 95 miles an hour.
Yep.
So, and I think you got to look at pitchers in the Hall of Fame too, as you were either so good in a frame of time that it doesn't matter that you didn't have the longevity. If you look at a guy like Pedro or something like that, where he didn't really dominate later in his career or anything like that, but he dominated so much in one period of time that it's impossible to not have him as a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
I think CC was really, really, really good for so long of a period of time that he has to be a Hall of Famer. And I think guys where Strasburg may fall and other guys like that, maybe a Syndergaard, later in his career, whatever it may be, those guys that might fall in the middle ground if they can't kind of figure it out after they lose their fastball. Those are David Price is a good example, probably. Those guys that fall in the middle ground, you don't know that they're going to make the Hall of Fame because they either didn't make it long enough or do it well enough long enough, or they weren't good enough in their prime to kind of show out. I think CC exceeds those expectations of a Hall of Famer.
And I feel like being in the Bronx this long and being relevant as a Yankee also helps out.
Yeah, every Yankee ever. Luke Voigt's going to be a Hall of Famer next week.
Damn right he is. Hall of Fame hair.
Fuck it. If Brett Gardner gets into the Hall of Fame, I'll be pissed. Like real big mad. I will not be happy. If Brett Gardner got into the Hall of Fame, say he got into the Hall of Fame on like his third ballot and Barry Bonds just doesn't get into the Hall of Fame.
What are you gonna do?
I'll soccer. Liverpool's still in it.
Man City, baby.
Liverpool, man.
City. All right. Moving on. Troy Tulowitzki, which we had a bet. Will he play over or under 50 games for the Yankees this year? He's rehabbing in Single A down in Tampa. Hit a bomb of a home run in front of 7 people. And then he got hit in the hamstring with a pitch and had to be removed from the game.
I'm sorry, because I know everyone takes injuries so seriously and you can't make fun of injuries. If you don't laugh every time someone on the Yankees gets injured at this point, then you just have zero sense of humor whatsoever. Because
I don't laugh.
It's hysterical at this point.
No, it's not.
Yeah, we've hit that threshold where it goes from. I mean, for me, I always am kind of in the back of my head like, it's good for me. But regardless, I mean, it's a comical amount of players on the list, and it's every single person ever. Tulo on his own right is kind of funny every time it happens just because he was so good. And now it's like every time you think he might be back, he's gone.
I mean, I guess it's
playing under 50 games.
I guess it is kind of funny that if you could legitimately field an all-star team with your guys on the IL, yeah, I guess that's kind of
You think the Yankees could just field a whole all-star team?
Oh, God, yeah. Look at it. I mean, it's not, but I'm saying
them and all their silver sluggers from last season.
Exactly, they're just gonna blow past.
There's
that
0 silver sluggers from last season.
So, all right.
Do you know that JD Martinez had 2 silver sluggers last season?
Yes.
Mookie Betts had 1.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
I got that.
All right.
So, your guy, Aaron Boone. I mean, he's got to be up there for manager of the year right now with what he's doing with this shell of a team, correct?
Nah.
There we go.
I think he's going to do it for an extended period of time.
I'm just saying right now.
And to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's him that should be getting the credit. I mean, I think the credit should be going to this lineup and how all the young players have stepped up. But I don't think he's not winning these games with pitching decisions. I mean, you guys are out hitting people.
There's a couple times where he has made some very good pitching decisions with the pen at the right time and making the right move. And it just seemed like, and making little tweaks with the lineup, moving guys here or there that have worked out. It seems like when he touches it, it's turning to gold right now. I'm not saying that's lasting all year. I'm not saying I'm fucking on the Aaron Boone Hall of Fame bandwagon right now. I'm just saying for this sample size of what he and that team has done with me playing fucking second base, basically, you got to give the man some credit.
I'm saying I just think a lot more credit should go to the young guys who are coming up and hitting well. Because really what you guys are doing, you're not putting on a pitching clinic by any means. You're going out there and you're out hitting everyone. Maybe there are games where the bullpen comes through. Great. You know, Ottavino, I don't really know exactly how great of a season he's had. Yeah. So, but and I just think it has a lot less to do with Aaron Boone's decisions because at this point he's just getting names thrown at him from the minors, and they're like, "Here, this is your new guy, put him in." And he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll put him here." Maybe he sends a phone call down to AAA, say, "Where'd you guys play him there?" But I mean, maybe check his baseball reference real quick or something. But it's like he's. I think a lot more is these young players are hitting the piss out of the ball, and And I mean, that's winning you guys games, which is how you guys have always. I mean, that's how you guys won game last year.
Yeah, but they are playing more small ball, and bunting guys over.
Because you have less people that can hit home runs.
Exactly. Which
you have
no,
people
and I'm
that
happy
were
about.
taking the SATs last year.
Yes. Well, and here's a decision now that Boone's going to have to make. Andujar apparently today was on a flight heading back to New York. They're hoping he's going to be able to play this weekend, but Gio Urshela, who's been playing third base, has been on fire. He's batting 62 at bats. He's batting .339, 21 hits, 6 RBIs, 8 runs, 5 walks, and he is so smooth in the field, just making tremendous plays at third base, which Andujar cannot. So, I mean, a guy that's on fire like that, how do you take him out of the lineup for a guy like Andujar? Or do you start Andujar DHing? I think that's what you have to do.
I mean, you probably just DH him for as long as you can, especially with everyone still hurt.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's your supposed NL Rookie of the Year last year, the guy that you can't even get back into third base because this guy comes up and hits well for 2 weeks.
They play in the AL.
AL, sorry, mush brain.
Yep, there it is. All right, DJ LeMahieu was also hurt, but nothing serious. He should be coming back this weekend as well.
Yeah, see, you don't see the little shred of humor in that where the Yankees get this DJ LeMahieu. He came in.
DJ LeMahieu.
It's a tough name.
He's a beast.
It's a tough name, and I got a sore
really
throat.
Well for Colorado.
But regardless, all I'm saying is you don't see the humor in the fact that this guy comes in, plays well for you guys, and then immediately gets hurt. Yeah. Like he's been fine up until this point this year, and then he comes in here for a week, plays well, and gets hurt. That's funny.
He's been playing well all season. What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying. And then he comes in here and he gets hurt.
Yeah, that's great.
That's funny.
All right. Well, they went 9-4 in a West Coast trip. If you count Kansas City as part of it, Kansas City, the Angels, the Giants, and then they lost 2 straight in Arizona. But they're 17-13, 2.5 back, and they have a tough homestand starting with the Twins. So, I mean, with everything they've been through, I am thrilled where they're sitting.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. I mean, they've definitely been outplaying. We disagree on how they've been outplaying teams, but they've been outplaying teams regardless and outplaying what they have on the field.
But do you want to hear one funny stat?
What?
All 17 of their wins have come against teams who are under 500.
Oh, I believe that.
All 17.
Where'd you find all these teams? I guess you're playing the Red Sox and shit.
They're playing the right teams. All right. Speaking of
See what
Red
happens
Sox
when you win a game
under
against Baltimore.
500 teams, let's talk Red Sox.
Let's talk Red
Sox. Or let's
Sox.
let you talk Red Sox. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy.
I'm going to go rapid fire because I have a lot of guys to kind of like go through because I think a lot of guys are starting to look a lot better and a lot of guys have figured it out. A lot of guys have been figuring it out, have never really lost it since last season, but you forget about it just because of how the team is kind of performing as a whole. Because we still haven't. I mean, we finally got that sweep of Oakland.
Yep.
Which was great. That's get some wins under our belt. I mean, we just need to win baseball games.
Yes.
Good, bad, or ugly, we need to come out with W's right now the way our record looks.
Yep.
So I'll start with the starting pitching, which has looked a lot better. They've definitely settled down. The ERA has come far, not for the season yet, but just over the last 3 weeks, I'd say. The ERA, yep. I think it was since April 17th, is second in the AL, the ERA. So starting pitching is there, but they still haven't found ways to put wins together. Some of that's been the bullpen. Some of that's been the lineup not coinciding on the same night. There just hasn't been that cohesiveness that they had last season and just putting it together all on the same night. But starting pitching is starting to figure out. Sale's still looking for his first start of the year, though.
First win,
sorry, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're playing back in Chicago, in his old hometown. So maybe this is the time he gets it. I mean, we need a W as a team. So, because we want to take it. I mean, you just get that sweep right there. We need to keep taking advantage of that. We need to make sure it's 4 out of the last 5 we've won. Not we've lost 2 in a row because we went to the White Sox and we lost 2 to them.
Yep.
So Sale needs to get this win, and he needs to do it definitively, or in a defining way. So
10 strikeouts, 1 run.
And I mean, 0-3 0-6, whatever it is on the season for him. Not good. It's just not a good look when you look at the numbers.
Nope.
So he's still got an over 6 ERA on the season. He needs to start figuring it out, and I think he needs to do that tonight. Rick Porcello's put together 2 really good starts in a row now. I mean, the only thing with Rick Porcello is his production's supposed to be like secondary. It's supposed to be like a bonus when he's pitching really well.
Yes. Yep.
And right now he's almost like, in the last couple of weeks, he's almost been like the anchor of that staff.
Which is crazy to think.
Can't have that. No. Can't have that in my life. I love Rick Porcello. The year he won the Cy Young was awesome. He stole it. It was highway robbery, and I loved every minute of it. And I love Porcello, but he can't be our anchor. He can't be our ace. He can't be the guy you expect to stop a losing streak or something like that.
He can for me, as the Red Sox are.
Well, I mean, he kills the Yankees, so. But or at least at home he does.
Yeah.
But moving on though, Price has looked a lot better. My problem with Price is I find it hard to assess him because I hate watching him, whether he's pitching well or not. In the regular season, in the playoffs, regardless, it's like tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in the regular season, Price moves so slow. It's like 3.5 minutes between pitches every time. So but you go back and you assess him and you look at what he's been doing and you look at his numbers, because every start feels like he's not pitching well because it just takes so long. Yep. Like I say that as a joke, but really it is. When you watch him pitch and it feels like sometimes if he lets the first runner on but then gets the next 3 out, which is a really good inning.
Yep.
Like you don't notice it because that inning lasted 20 minutes. Still. Yeah. And you're like, it feels like, all right, he's in trouble, and he's not really. So it is like watching him. It does give you this weird perception, but he has been better, and I do think he can get into that role of being a top tier guy again. And I think he's really working with his stuff a lot better. So, and he's getting the strikeouts again, which he struggled to get last season as he was trying to figure out how to not pitch without a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball.
And a guy like him needs strikeouts, I think, mentally.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's very much a momentum guy, and he's very much in his own head. Yep. And when it's working, it's working, and when it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a very controlled in his head though, which is good at least. And the bullpen's been very weird this year. So they've got bad look for the starting rotation. They've got almost double as many wins as the starting rotation this season.
That's unbelievable for a bullpen that was supposed to be the worst in baseball.
Which is still also a garbage take too, though.
It is.
The bullpen helped win us that World Series last year without a doubt. They were very, very good.
Yep.
But regardless, they're not a stacked bullpen. I'm not trying to argue that for 2019. They really aren't. They should have been middle of the road coming in. They've kind of overall looked middle of the road.
Yep.
Early on in the season, they won us any game that we were able to win. I mean, the starting rotation didn't come around for weeks after the season started.
Oh, it's because you were on the road for a month and a half.
Seriously, though. I mean, it's so absurd. I think we've got I think I was looking at it the first half of the season or up before the All-Star break or something like that. We just have an absurd amount of road games to home games, and then it flips for whatever the rest of the portion of the season is.
Yep.
Regardless, though, the bullpen was winning those games early on. Now they're blowing them all. So that's the thing where the Red Sox can't get, they can't get their lineup, their pitching staff, and their bullpen, or their starting rotation and their bullpen all in sync at once right now. And so the bullpen's been blowing it. They blew a game last night. We gave up a 3-run home run for a walk-off against White Sox. Price picked Price went, I think it was 7 and 3 earned. Mm-hmm. So he had a really good outing, and we kind of gave it away with the bullpen again. Tyler Thornburg, if I ever see him on a mound again, I swear to God, I'll quit. I'll quit everything. You know what? No, I'll just go protest.
Is he Brett Gardner status for you?
I think I might become a protest guy, actually.
With a sign or no sign?
Oh, so why protest if you're not going to have a sign? Big sign. But I mean, Tyler Thornburg is a disgrace to baseball. To think that we got him when he was coming off Tommy John, he wasn't ready to come back even when we did trade for him.
Yep.
Gave up Travis Shaw. I mean, it's like it was one of the most pathetic trades ever. It was one of the most pathetic trades ever at the time it happened. It wasn't one of these hindsight things like, oh, well, you couldn't predict Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw was going upwards. Like, his trajectory was going straight up. He had a great season the year before, and Tyler Thornburg was having Tommy John surgery, and his trajectory was straight down.
And they're like, yeah,
and he's been
good.
god awful since he's gotten to the Red Sox, and he continues to be. I mean, he gives up. It takes him longer to warm up than it does for him to give up a run when he comes into a game.
Love it.
So it's,
Absolutely love it.
I can't stand him. But the bullpen overall, I mean, they definitely need to find a way to close out these games because the lineup is actually starting to look a lot like the 2018 Red Sox finally. JD's been batting all season. I mean, he's been quietly lighting it up. He's still batting 327 on the year.
He's a stud. He really is.
He's back up over 300. Mitch Moreland hits either a home run or strikes out every at bat, but I'll take it because he's got 9 figures.
Because that's Mitch Moreland.
Yep, 9 home runs. I'll take it. Whatever you can get. Chavez, I mean, adding Chavez has been unbelievable for this team. He tore it up in the preseason. He's tearing it up now since he's come up. Nunez, Pedroia, take your time. Like, do not. Yeah, like I need Chavez to stay up here. I don't want to make any rash decisions to make Pedroia happy or to make Nunez happy or to even make Holt happy, which I think getting Holt back just for depth purposes would be good. But either Holt or Nunez, but having everyone up and just making this, like making someone make the decision to send Chavez back down, I don't want to see that. Like, I think we need him up here. I think we need all the production we can get, but I think the right guys are starting to play well. I think Benintendi's been playing better. He had a home run last night. Devers still hasn't homered, but I mean, his average is almost up at 300, which is kind of not what you would expect out of him. But it's good to see because the homers will come with him. So overall, this lineup is starting to become what we expect, and we just need that pitching, the starting rotation and the bullpen to really put it together. And that's my really long-winded take on how I think this Red Sox team is starting to put it together, whether they're getting the wins that they need to or not.
And as a scared Yankees fan who always fears the Sox in the last 10 years, I feel like yes, I'm happy on this side, like, of what's happening with the Sox, and they started on the road. But then over here, I'm like, you know what? There's a spot in my brain that's saying there's no chance that they don't turn it around. Like, it's already a foregone conclusion in my head that the Sox are just going to go on a tear in the second half of the season and win the division.
I have a question. Where do you stand on the Yankees? Like, if it's like the smiley face system at the hospital, where it's frowny face, straight face, or smiley face. Where are you at right now with the Yankees, taking into account how they're performing?
I'm all three
the
faces,
injuries, but the fact that they're going to be coming back and they're still winning games and playing well. I mean, where do you stand? What face? I'm
literally all 3 faces. I'm the happy face for how they've been playing with the minor league team. I'm a middle face because Aaron Boone's still my manager, and I'm a sad face because of all the injuries. And I'm also the middle face because I'm nervous about, just because the horses are going to come back doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, who knows? They could just have this magic in them right now.
So that's kind of why I asked right there, though. Not to cut you off, but that was what I was like looking for, was that answer, because I wonder, because realistically, if you look at the Yankees and objectively, like obviously, and this is why I asked you this, because objectively, when you look at the Yankees on paper, you would think, oh, they should be the favorites to win the AL East right now because they're winning games without their players and all their players will come back and then they'll win even more.
That doesn't mean that.
And that's why I asked you that, because I wanted to kind of gauge the level of trust you have in this Yankees team. Because
I don't know.
And do you know why? I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious because I don't know if it's you guys don't trust that your guys will stay healthy, or you guys don't trust that your guys are good enough to bounce back, or strong enough to bounce back, or cohesive enough to bounce back.
So for me, it's a couple things. The health scares the hell out of me because it's not just been this year. You and I talked about it before the season started. I've been bringing it up forever now.
Absolutely. I think somehow your training staff is going to ruin your team the way the Mets did.
Yes, and it's just it's ongoing. So that's one thing. 2, like I just said before, my fear of the Red Sox. I've just been seeing it for how many years now, and Yankee fans are probably going to crush me for this because you just have to back the team no matter what. No, You need to be realistic. Every series, like last year, going into that series against the Sox in the ALDS, I didn't think they were going to win. And whenever they play the Sox, yeah, they swept them 2 games this year, but like I'm always fearful that they're not going to win. And I don't know what I feel about this full team when they're healthy, because one, I haven't seen them enough this year, and two, Giancarlo Stanton, since he's been a Yankee, doesn't take the fucking bat off his shoulder. So
he looks like our logo.
Literally. So I don't know. There's nothing screaming in my brain saying when the horses come back, they're gonna win. In my heart, that's what I'm calling for. But in my brain, I'm like, I really don't know.
And I think realistically, if you look back in history, Yankee fans, you would be frowned upon for that take. I think when you collectively look at Twitter, hear what New York radio saying about this team, and I think you said it in there too, where you said, I don't know how I feel about this team when they are fully healthy. And I think that's a weird position as a Yankee team, to be as dominant as you guys are capable of being and have that many good players. And still, even when you look at a fully healthy Yankee team like last year, you're not very confident in it. And I think that's weird.
I don't have like the mojo, the love that I have.
And I think it's so I think the weirdest part about all of it is I've never really seen a Yankee take where someone's pinpointed why. It just always has that undertone of that feeling. And I don't think any Yankee fan really understands what it is that they're missing or what's going wrong or what it is.
I think it's a connection thing too.
But I think a lot of that has to do with Boone, which is why I said I think Boone would be fired in season this year. But I think there is something, I've been saying it forever now, there's something missing with that Yankees team, and no one can seem to pinpoint what it is, and usually that means the manager's gone.
Yeah, I don't have, like, I have a connection with some of these guys, and I feel like in this day and age with social media, we should have a connection with our teams more than ever. But like those '90s teams with even like Ricky Leday and Shane Spencer, like we had just like a connection with that team. Where this team is just very, I don't want to say workmanlike, but just I don't know, like guys like Giancarlo Stanton, he's not lovable.
No one really is. Everyone talks about Aaron Judge being this super marketable player. To be perfectly honest, the Yankees don't allow anyone to be marketable.
You're right.
I mean, when's the last time you heard Judge in an interview that wasn't a post-game interview? When's the last time you heard any of your players? I mean, a lot of the young players in the league are out there on social media, like you said, out there, and you hear their voice. You start to recognize them. You start to understand what they're about, what type of person they are, what type of player they are. You really feel connected. And the Yankees don't allow. I haven't seen any Yankee player outside of a post-game interview speak or on Twitter or do anything, and I think it's really hindering them from, one, the team, like the fan base trusting them, and two, for them being, I mean, I think they look uncomfortable.
You just made it click in my head. You know what the missing link is? And honestly, with the connection, it's Didi Gregorius, because Didi was the connection to the fans. Didi is a beast on social media. Didi is always out getting interviewed. He's out on the streets of New York doing funny things. Every time the Yankees won last year, he tweeted it out, started spreading the news. He had a different emoji for each player. So that he brought the connection with the fans. And he's not there this year because he's been hurt. And I don't think anybody else knows what to do and how to connect. Half of them don't speak English, so that's why. But they're just very robotic, and they need a guy like Didi.
I think that's a problem too, though, where if your leadership and your cohesiveness all anchors on one guy, especially a guy like Didi Gregorius, who, to be perfectly honest, is just a slightly above average shortstop in the league, especially when you look at the shortstop talent around the league right now.
Yeah.
The young talent especially. I mean, he really falls into that middle of the pack almost with all these young guys. If your cohesiveness as a team anchors around that guy, I mean, that's not good. Like, you guys should be around Aaron Judge at all times. Like, that should be your anchor, your team, or a novel idea, maybe the manager. who can rally the team. I mean, because
No.
Alex Cora, if you look at the Red Sox, Alex Cora is that team's kind of heart. He makes that engine run, and all the players get along very well in all of that. But I mean, Alex Cora turned a team that kept getting bounced, a team that kept winning the division and kept getting bounced in the first round into a World Series juggernaut.
Well, we can't. I mean, it's unfair to Aaron Boone to compare him to Alex Cora.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's why I keep going down that road though, where Aaron Boone is that problem. Like I think the reason where this talent doesn't succeed is because of Aaron Boone. I think if you guys have Girardi, this team already has a World Series, to be perfectly honest.
I'd agree. I was never on board. Hal Steinbrenner is trying to cheap out left and right with anything but the players, and I don't know. They say Girardi rubs some people the wrong way with how blunt he isn't up front, but every single player had his back. The fans, except for the stupid ones that got on him for that, decision he made against the Cleveland series, had his back. I just, I don't know.
And shame on the organization or whoever it may be if the reason that Girardi was gone is because he was too brash or too honest or whatever it may be. I mean, that's exactly what you need in an organization to be successful.
And it's come out from sources.
What he wasn't coddly about it, or it's at some point you have to. I mean,
it's Major League Baseball.
The managers that most players look back, and if that's a culture in the Yankees locker room that just you don't know how to get rid of it because they can't handle the manager telling them the truth. Like any players you normally ask, they want the truth from their manager, good or bad. They just want to know where because if they don't know what position they're in, they don't know where they stand with the team. They're never going to feel comfortable. This is the whole Swihart effect. Swihart never got a chance to really be comfortable in any position whatsoever, and it showed.
It's unfortunate as hell for them.
Yeah, but it's players and I think if you have that culture in your whole locker room, I don't know how you cure that, even if you get rid of the manager.
And the thing that blows my mind the most about that whole thing is that sources have come out and said, even if the Yankees had won the World Series that year, they were getting rid of Girardi.
Yeah, I just think you lost a lot of accountability when you got rid of Girardi.
Not going to get any fight on me with that.
Yeah. But I think we've ranted long enough about shitty teams.
Yes, we have. There's a lot of, like we said, good series this weekend. Yanks are playing the Twins. The Twins are hot. We got St. Louis and Chicago, so we got a lot of baseball. It's Derby weekend, Cinco de Mayo.
Celtics game 3 tonight, Friday night.
Sixers play Sunday night, so we got a lot of sports and fun activities this weekend. And speaking of fun activities, don't forget about the QB54, the best tailgating game out there. It's perfect for tailgating. It's perfect for the beach. Instead of just throwing a football around, why not throw it at a chair that has goalposts? You hit the goalpost, you score. You even get to kick it through the uprights if you score a touchdown. So it's a blast, and then you get to sit on the chair and relax after. So QB54, check that out. Go check out our merchandise at thebrandedsports.com. Thank you to Design Tree. They're killing it. We got a thick with 2 C's Vlad shirt out there. So go to thebrandedsports.com, Brandon_sports on Twitter. Get our merch. Find everything you need about CTB.
Yep. Vlad shirts look dope. The Crowding the Play shirts look dope. I'm telling you guys, you already know that we have a dope logo. The logo looks awesome on the merch. If you're watching the video podcast, you see it. If you're listening to the podcast, go check it out. We blogged it. The links are up. Go find them.
Shirt's comfy as hell, too.
Yep. Oh, it fits like a glove. Also, go find us on Twitter at CTPpod, at Kmess22 for Kevin, at Brandon Nick Dubs for myself. Find us iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Google Play, all of them. YouTube, make sure you follow the YouTube. Yep. It's getting better. I'm getting better and better at it.
Love
Videos are looking better and better. So it's really, the content's getting better, guys, and it's going to keep coming at you. So make sure you're following us everywhere. Keep finding us at thebrandedsports.com. Follow Branded Sports at Brandon_sports. And I think it's all of them.
Oh, you know what else we got this weekend? I just remembered. Chrissy, our winner of the Phillies tickets, is going to the game Saturday night, May 4th.
Oh, yeah. Big day.
So, have a wonderful time, Chrissy, at the game. Send us a lot of pictures. Tweet us. Hope you have a blast.
Yep. Should be dope.
Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Derby. Enjoy Cinco de Mayo responsibly. Enjoy a lot of great baseball, and we will be back next week.
I'm going to go take some NyQuil, guys.
Good night.